Photoshop has some very cool lighting effects, and I've got a few images prepared for you to play with them. We're going to start with this leap image, and I'm on the leap multiply layer. I've named each layer according to their layer blending mode, which is creating some neat effects. But on the leap multiply layer, I'm going to try filter, render, and there's a few very fun ones, but we'll start with the lens flare. When I choose filter, render, lens flare, it will default to the 50 to 300 millimeter zoom, and you get a tiny preview here. You can pick up the source point of light and move it, with our goal to be just a little above his hand. And I really like the 105 millimeter prime, so that's what we'll try. You can experiment with brightness, but I'm going to go somewhere between 120 and 150. The beauty is that this is a smart layer. In fact, every copy of the guy leaping is a smart layer. That way, if you edit the embedded smart object on the original, all 4 of them will update. So I'll click OK. And because this is a smart filter, I can hit the eye icon to turn the lens flare off and on again to see the impact. If you did not like this particular effect, you can double-click and maybe dial it down, or try a different one, like 35 millimeter prime, and click OK. Oh, I think that really works well here. Let's try the next one. I created this background image, and you could see my zoom level is 66%. If I zoom in, it helps to be at 100% because the stars may look like they vanish if you aren't at 100%. So I zoomed in by hitting Command plus or Control plus. And you can see I've done a few things. I actually created a clouds layer with filter, render clouds. And not only that, if I shift click on the mask, I'm using a layer mask of clouds to mask the clouds layer. Just some neat special effects to create a background that looks like space. But I want to be on the stars layer. The stars layer, again, is a smart object where I used a solid black layer and then filter convert to smart filters. You'll see I have a Gaussian blur, which gives me fewer stars, and the noise is actually what creates the stars themselves. I'm just clicking on the eye icon to hide or show them. But this time I'm going to use another lighting effect, filter, render, and I'll use lens flare again, but this time I want the movie prime. Movie prime gives me those bands of light. I don't know why, it also makes me think of E.T. the movie. But I'm going to pull this towards the center, and then I can dial the brightness up or down. Now the preview may not be accurate because again it's a tiny area, and I'll click OK. And with this, you can apply different blending modes. The stars effect that I'm getting here may be too pronounced, so if I don't like it, I double-click on lens flare, and I dial it down so it's more subtle, and click OK again. And there we have it. Now, applying lens flare to the bottom stars layer may not give you the same effect as applying it to a top layer. So here's a trick. I'm going to click on the clouds layer, make a new layer with layer, new layer. I'll name this black. And I really want those lights to be pronounced because they're buried under the clouds, which has a screen layer blending mode, and because they're on the stars, which has the smart filter and Gaussian blur and noise, we are getting kind of a dithered effect. If I click back on the black layer and choose Edit Fill with black and hit OK, everything vanishes, which is fine. But I'm simply going to take my lens flare effect and drag it up to black. Now a very important note, and sometimes I leave this in on purpose so you could see if you make a mistake, this is why it's not working. The circle with the line through it indicates I can't drag this up to here because this is not a smart filter or smart object layer. So I'll choose filter, convert for smart filters. It's saying yes, it's converting it to a smart object. OK. It's good to hit Don't Show Again there if you know it's going to be a smart object. And now, these eyes are filters. Filters can only be edited if you have a smart object layer. So I can drag the lens flare up on top of black and get a gorgeous view of that lighting effect. In fact, this little arrow will collapse or expand all the filters that are applied. And here's the magic. With a layer blending mode, I can choose something like color dodge to lighten with a color, linear dodge, or anything that is doing sort of an overlay effect. Well, overlay is one to try, soft light for whatever achieved or desired special effect you're going for. I think I'm going to leave it on linear dodge. And I'll zoom down a little bit. Notice how when I hit Command minus or Control minus, the stars disappeared. They aren't gone. The zoom level is just too low. So Command plus or Control plus will let me see those again. So this is a very interesting background that you can actually try to pop some of your own silhouettes of people on top of. All right, now for the last and very improved, coolest special effect. On this model, I want to do an ad for a party, and the theme of the party is aliens, and that hair and the look in her eye, I think, lends itself perfectly to this. So I'm going to choose Filter, Render, and Lighting Effects. Now, Lighting Effects has been radically improved in CS6. In fact, they had to pull it for one of the versions because it was 32-bit only and wouldn't function because Photoshop was a 64-bit application. Now it's back, and now our effect is directly on canvas. We have a much bigger territory to work with than we had with the last few lighting filters that we tried. So as I look at this, there are several different types of light. You could do a spotlight, point light, infinite light. I've already done some playing, so my color was green, but your color may start with white. I actually want a dark green, so I'm going to shoot for that. And then here in the dark green, you can play with the intensity of the color, the hot spot, and that will shrink this area where it radiates out. You could colorize it further. You could make it glossier, which basically lightens a bit as you slide right, but I want to slide down to keep this kind of dark and ominous. You could give it a metallic look and feel. And that may show some posterization over the nose. I'll hit Command plus or Control plus to zoom in to see that. Metallic may not show a lot if gloss is too low. There we go. I want the dark, ominous look for this. I can play with the ambience, and that makes the biggest move towards dark. In fact, you'll notice I have several spotlights. If I click the eye icon to turn others off and on, I can actually click on Spotlight 2 and trash it, click on Point Light 1 and trash it, and this is really what you get to start. Just one spotlight, which is the default, and then I can play with the amount of light coming through here. If I really want her hair to show, I could choose another type of light, like a point light or infinite light. I'm going to go for point just over her hair. In the center, I'll move that up here. And now I want this to be very subtle, so I'll dial it down. And there more of the green comes through, but I'm getting that bit of shine on her head. And I'll click OK. And if I hit Command Z or Control Z for before and after, you could see some very neat special effects that are now on canvas and 64-bit using Filter, Render, Lighting Effects. Give each of these a try. The lens flare with the two images that I've applied, and the lighting effects, trying out each different style of light. There are 3 choices and lots of settings to play with. So have some fun and light up your photos.